Okay. Awesome. One thing I'd like to do is put this in the chat. All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome in. Thanks for joining. We're going to give everyone a few more seconds to join before we get rolling. Let's see. Who do we have? Hi, Candace. Hi, Em. Hi, Joan. Welcome in. Hi, Melissa. Oh, this is great. The attendees are rolling in. Okay. We'll give them just a few more seconds. Carrie and Margaret, how are you today?
Great.
Well,
Glad to hear
Beautiful
it.
day in Colorado Springs. So
Awesome. How far is that from Denver?
about an hour
about an hour.
south.
Okay. I have not been to Colorado other than flying through Denver, but I need to go there.
Yeah, Colorado Springs is a itty bitty airport. It's
Yeah.
growing, but not very fast. So
Yeah.
not many people fly into the Springs. Even the people that live here, we usually go Denver.
To Denver,
It's
yeah. It's easier.
and cheaper, like by hundreds. Like it's not even a choice. Like
Yeah, I hear you. We have similar ones like that. Santa Barbara. Okay, well, looks like we have most of our registrants in attendance, so we can go ahead and get rolling. Thank you everyone for being here. Welcome to another CourseKey webinar. My name is Alex Beitzel. I'm the marketing manager at CourseKey, and today I'm joined by Margaret Peterson and Carrie Peterson from International Salon Spa Academy. And we have a really great presentation for you today. I'm excited to dive in. We're going to be talking about how ISSA has streamlined their financial aid operations with automated attendance. Now, the title says 5 ways. I think we're going to touch on a few more than just 5, but we had that in the title, and I'm really excited to share everything with you. So before we jump into introductions, I just wanted to let the audience know a few things. First is that this is a recorded webinar, so everyone who has registered for this webinar and is in attendance today, you'll receive a recording of this webinar in your inbox tomorrow. The second thing is that we do have, we do encourage questions. We have time at the end for Q&A, but if you have any questions that pop up throughout the presentation, just shoot them towards us using the chat or the Q&A function on your display here. And we'll either get to them on the spot or save them for the Q&A session at the end. But definitely don't hold back. If there's anything that you want to know, feel free to ask us. And the third thing is, I just wanted to give a brief introduction into CourseKey. So we're a software company. We make software solutions specifically for trade and vocational schools. Our goal is to enable the most successful vocational workforces on earth. And you can learn more at CourseKey.com. We have a lot of different resources there with blogs and ebooks, infographics, you name it, whatever content it is, case studies, we have it on the website. So go check that out. You can learn more about us there. And we're used by over 300 campuses across the country to enable student success, drive student engagement, support compliance, and many other things. So you can learn more about us there. All right, so we're going to dive into ISSA and to Margaret and Carrie. So I thought I'd start. Margaret, can you explain, since you are the financial planning advisor at ISSA, can you give a bit of a background into your story with the school and maybe some of the responsibilities that you have on a day-to-day basis?
Sure. Well, my story with the school is I've been here for 24 years. And the prior owner was a friend of mine. And one day she said she was looking for somebody to do financial aid. Would I be interested? And my oldest daughter was in the 8th grade. And I thought, oh, cool, I'll understand how it works. I still don't understand how it works all the way because they keep changing it. But yeah, that was my original motivation and my original step into this career that's been wonderful for me. So, and just, started out just learning basic things, not even knowing what an audit was or what cohort default rates were. We had kind of a high default rate when our new owner bought the school in 2000. And he brought it and he said, "Oh, do you know this?" And I said, "Oh, is that good? You know, I just didn't know." So it's just been a great process through the years, learning everything and just keeping on top of it and basically going from understanding what goes into a student file when they enroll to compliance through the years, the different changes with Department of Education and the different things that they need to do, just being able to keep up with it all. And it's ever changing.
Right. Right. And we're going to probably dive into a few of those things that you mentioned today. Thank you, Margaret. And Carrie, you're the Academy Executive Director. Can you tell us a little bit about your background and also some things that you look for on a day-to-day basis at ISSA?
Absolutely. My name is Carrie Peterson. I am the Executive Director. The fun fact is I am a graduate of the school in the 90s. Margaret was my financial aid provider while I was in school. And, it's crazy that it's come full circle and I'm the director now. And I've worked very hard to get here, but being alumni and also so responsible for everything that we have going on here, it's a lot of pressure, it's a lot of demand, but I am so passionate on making the school thrive, and I get so excited and cheerful, and I do truly take it personally. I know we offer Southern Colorado just so much growth, and being in a military town where we serve the Army, Air Force, and the Academy, the Air Force Academy, we have a lot of transient students. So we have a lot of opportunity to change their life while they're here in Colorado Springs and stationed here. So it's definitely fun. I get to use my business degree with my cosmetologist license and smash them together. And I couldn't be any happier working next to Margaret, who continues to teach me every day. And I do not want to know everything about her job. I just need to know how to get through the audits and the things not to say. So thank you so much.
Okay, that's great. And you mentioned ISSA is in Colorado Springs. I want to give the audience a bit more background into the school itself. So can you explain a little bit about maybe how many students you have, what kind of systems you use? I know, I think you use FAME as your SIS. Can we give the audience a little bit of background into the school?
Yeah, we do use FAME for our SIS or LMS. And, the cool thing about International is we just turned 51 years old. We are a pillar in the community and have been for a long time. Our numbers, please don't let them scare you. But like I said, we are a transient town that has a lot of military development. We have a program through our high schools that we serve. And we have about 130 students in that program, 138 to be exact. And then for our college side, we do have 3 separate schedules. So we do offer 2 part-time schedules and 1 full-time schedule. And right now we have about 200 students. So altogether we have 330 students, and we are expecting in September 85 more students. So we are so excited to have CourseKey. And honestly, with those kind of numbers, we could not do the attendance calculations that we do without it. So that is kind of about us. We are accredited by Department of Education, NACIS, DPOS, VA, and we have huge partnerships in the community, giving back and just serving our community, and it's an equal thing. They serve us back. So it's exciting.
Okay, I'm really glad to hear that, and I'm so excited for your growth. That's really awesome. And I have one point that I want to get to on that towards the end. But so we're here to talk about really how automated attendance has impacted your operations, and there's a few different things I wanted to touch on. The first is, can you just briefly, in a sentence or two, say what CourseKey or how you use CourseKey, where you use it for? I think it's mainly attendance, but is there anything else?
We do. We use it for attendance. We also have a testing module, and we also use it for our practical assessments. And the beautiful thing with all of these is they all integrate into my SIS system, into FAME. which is really nice. Because we've had other systems through the years that we've tried that they've made promises and they never ended up working the way they were supposed to. This is like the first one that really works the way it's supposed to work for us. And we really appreciate that.
I'm so glad to hear that. Okay, thanks for explaining that. And so the first point that I wanted to touch on is talking about the first day of attendance and the last day of attendance. And I was wondering if you could tell the audience and tell me, before you had CourseKey in place, what was it like to get that data on the first day of attendance and last day of attendance of a student?
Actually, we weren't able to actually do it in real time. That's one of the benefits of CourseKey is real-time attendance. In the system, originally we had a biometric time clock. Well, and even before that, like way back in the Stone Age days when I first started, it was like manual punch in and out, and then I like manually input everything in. And we kind of went back to that during COVID. But then we went to a biometric, which was an outline of the hand. And it would download, but we'd only be able to download the next day. So yesterday's attendance would be downloaded today, but I wouldn't be able to look anything up prior to that. I wouldn't be able to look up any student punches or anything until the full day was downloaded. And then COVID happened. We were off campus and we went back to manual entry and manual input, and it was taking us almost a week to get all of the attendance in for the prior week. So, and then the middle of July in 2020 is when we went on
presentation.
When we went on to CourseKey, and that's just, it's just been great, you know. And one of the biggest selling points, I believe, at first was the hands-free.
Right.
So yeah,
that was the biggest selling point at that point. You know, nobody knew. Everybody had cooties at that point. And so why not use your own personal device? It was like, is this for real?
Yeah.
Like, and then it will really go into fame and freedom. And it did. It was like, oh my gosh, what kind of nightmare are we living in? It's 2020. And how did we get so lucky to have this brought to us in a time of desperate need? So
yeah. I mean, that's an awesome story. And I was hoping, or you could explain about, now that you have an automated attendance solution in place, what is that process like to get that FDA data and LDA data in, and how much quicker is it now?
You know what, for the entire day download, it's still the next day. But as far as an individual student being able to look up when they're punching, if they're here, if they're not here, I'm able to do that immediately.
Click of a button.
We just open up CourseKey and we look up the student and we look and see where they're supposed to be and are they clocked in or are they not clocked in. One of the other advantages, besides not having to do manual entry with this, is, and I have this probably a little bit later on too, but you know, sometimes our students get a little creative with their schedule, even though it's a set schedule. And they talk to our dean and they go through a plan, and sometimes they have to do a makeup schedule, and sometimes they just kind of do their own thing. And it's easier for us to track that and see that happening so that we can get them in and advise them and say, hey, what are you doing? You know, this is when you committed to be here and you're not here.
Yeah.
What are you doing? So it definitely helps us with things like that as well.
Okay. Well, that's a great point to build on. This is something that we were going to talk about a bit later, but I think it makes sense to talk about it now. Having a student-driven attendance solution, can we, when we talked earlier, we talked about the difference in student behavior and maybe driving a bit more of accountability for their own time. Can you explain a little bit about kind of building on what you just said on how the students' behavior has changed, or how you're making it obvious to them that they need to be accountable for their time to make sure that they're getting everything that they need to get for their program?
Oh, yes, absolutely. And the cosmetology program in Colorado, it's 1,500 hours. Okay. And it's every single hour has to be accounted for.
Right.
No, it's not like other places where you get like, okay, you get a credit and you're here for 50 minutes and that's it. So we're able to account for all of their time, and
know they're truly on campus.
And know they're here. And it's just a matter of the student accountability part is, you know, if it's an operator error, it's you're not clocking in, you're not doing it correctly. If you're having to go to your instructor to have them adjust your hours, I can see who's adjusting it. Sometimes like there's an overlapping feature that the students don't understand if they do overlapping time, which is like they punch in and they punch out right in the same minute. So the system won't clock any time at all for them. And there's a report that I can run and I can see that. And sometimes it's like the same student doing it over and over again. And it's like, you know, they're trying to mess with like not taking their lunch break or something. And, you know, things like that. It just gives us a tool to help to guide the student in what they need to do. And they need to be here and they know that we see what they're doing and we know what's going on. And if there's ever a question from a student about their attendance, like, well, no, I think I was here that day and why is it not there? Or no, I wasn't absent half a day. We can actually go into the system and show the student, well, this is it. You're the one that clocked in, you're the one that clocked out on your system. It shows right here. So it's just a great system. And it shows if there were any adjustments made, it shows who the adjustment was. There's a place for notes. So we can put a note in as to why it was adjusted. Okay, student was clocked out because we couldn't find them. So it really helps us to do a lot of management like that, especially with this large of a campus body.
And students have to be accountable, and it's student driven. That's the part that we really loved about CourseKey, is it's student driven. So because they have to drive it, they have more responsibility and accountability, and less excuses that the biometric time clock just doesn't work.
And it gives them ownership.
Yeah, totally. And just thinking about my own experience in school, I a lot of the times would take the tactic of, if it's out of sight, it's out of mind. And because I don't have visibility into it or accountability for it, I'm not going to worry about it. And I'm going to trust that a staff member or an instructor will tell me that, hey, you need to be on top of this. And I think it's really good that we're offering students a way to kind of break away from that and really take ownership and guide themselves through to graduation. And then one other thing that we've heard from some of our other partner schools is that that kind of accountability and ownership is also helping set up the students for when they get into their field of study and into their career, and they will have to be accountable for their own time and to make sure they're on time and that they are staying for the entire time.
Like Margaret always says, what do you say? Pretend like it's your paycheck.
It's your paycheck. The hours are your paycheck, you know?
Right.
And yeah, and it's real world accountability, you know, down to even, I mean, we have students that don't believe that they have to do sanitation. You know, that's real big in this industry, but it's like, no, we're not making it up. It's part of what you have to do. This is what's going to end. And I can't tell you how many times I've had to have conversations with students that if I was your employer, this would be a whole different conversation we'd be having. You wouldn't have a job anymore at 60% attendance.
Yeah.
It's like,
that's so true. Yeah. Okay, so I want to move on to another question. We had talked about the importance of determining a student's SAP, and especially how that can factor into drawdowns of their student financial aid, whether it's a grant or a loan or a scholarship. And I just wanted to ask about your process now for determining a student's SAP. And I know that you mentioned grades being a big part of it too. So can you explain to us a little bit about your current process right now in determining a student's SAP and how that's impacted getting them the correct aid that they should have?
Sure. My SIS system is a reports-based system through FAME. And basically, I have a report that every week when I close my week out, the report prints out and it lets me know where the students are. And if they've gotten to their payment period point, I have that report that prints out for me. And all of that is possible because of CourseKey interacting with Freedom and being able to just know immediately where somebody is.
Yeah.
And basically, it's really not a weekly, it's actually a daily thing that happens. Once I download, if I've got a student that gets to their payment period hours, I have a report that will print immediately on that day so that I know. And if the student isn't maintaining progress, If the grades aren't in a timely manner, we have a discussion with the instructor to find out what's going on so that I can maybe reprint it, because, you know, there are a lot of ramifications for a student being on financial aid warning.
Yeah.
They have the potential of losing their aid, and it's really important for the accuracy with the grades and with the attendance to be there. So,
We're
and
able
it
to
just
help save
interacts.
them
Yeah.
faster.
Yeah, I hear you on that, and that's the accuracy part is something that I also want to touch on in a little bit. Kind of building on what you just said, has having that daily insight, has that helped you kind of minimize some unforeseen drops from students, or at least help keep students on track and increase maybe your graduation rate?
I think it has, absolutely. Just it gives us the tools that we need to find out sooner who needs the assistance.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Because it's student driven and it seems like to me, well, I know it is a fact, students like to talk and they like to compare things. They used to compare their progress reports, and now they compare their hours almost every day with each other, you know, and then they try and line up their graduations. And so next thing you know, you've got a student that would have been falling behind previously has momentum from the other students because they're like, well, where are you at? And then they can check. And so it's like, it's almost like breeding this wonderful culture and positivity and support system that we didn't know CourseKey could bring to the campus.
Yeah. Wow, I didn't even really think about that. That's amazing to hear, and I'm glad that at least from listening to that, it seems like students feel like they're part of a bigger group than instead of just kind of going through it individually. That's really great. I'm proud to hear that.
Yeah, we are too. And we're proud when they come in together. They're like, we did it all at the same time. And we're like, wow, it wouldn't have been possible before. It wouldn't have. So.
Oh, that's so cool. Okay, next question. We mentioned the accuracy of CourseKey, and that's one thing that we strive to be is the most accurate attendance collection method. And we know nothing is perfect, and there are different use cases or different one-off cases that happen. So that's why we like to include the transparency of who makes adjustments and when it was made, and including any context with the notes function there. Margaret and Carrie, can you talk about why it's so important to have accurate and verifiable data and verifiable records?
Audits. I mean, that's first and foremost that comes to my mind is audits, you know, being able to prove, and the student is driving it, so you know it really happened. Right. You know, it's very transparent and it is accurate. I haven't had inaccuracy unless it's the student's fault, the user error, you know, but literally, it definitely auditing. If a student has a discretion about their hours, then we can bring up the CourseKey and look at their punch-ins, like Miss Margaret said, or we can also run a report out of Freedom, which will match it, which is nice. So now we can show, oh, these numbers really do work ×2. Yeah. Like they are matching up. So the student then is like, oh, okay, I get it. It was my fault. I didn't clock in, or, you know, I carried the one wrong in my hours. So,
and one of the other things, particularly with COVID, because we did online as opposed to being on campus for quite a while, and being able to document that in a way, I don't know who and I don't know when, but at some point somebody's going to ask for it, and we're confident with the records that we have available to document when the student was actually on campus compared to when they were off campus through our hybrid period, what was remote learning. And particularly in this industry, it's going to be something that, you know, maybe, you know, knock on wood, maybe nobody will ever ask, but you know, better to be prepared.
Yes. It's almost like you read my mind a bit there, because I was going to take that and talk about something I saw recently, that the borrower's defense regulations they're getting updated, and I think it's that the Department of Ed is going to make any claim that a student makes will go through to become an application or will be considered. And it's almost like an inversion of the innocent until proven guilty type of thing.
Yeah.
It's guilty until proven innocent for our schools. And I was just going to talk about how, Carrie, like you mentioned, discretions with student hours or any claims that they feel that they haven't received the hours they thought they should. Having that dual verification process is going to be really, really helpful. And Margaret, I'm so happy to hear you say that you're confident in the records that you do have, because
Yes.
knock on wood, hopefully it doesn't happen, but it's becoming a real possibility. And we want to make sure all the schools are prepared for that.
Right.
We are, and we can sleep at night because we know, if we did have something unexpected, we have CourseKey and the automation and the technology to be able to, prove ourselves.
And not only sleeping at night, but sleeping and not having dreams about it all night.
Yeah, that too. Just because you sleep doesn't mean it's good. Like
Scared to go to sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So we have 4 minutes left, and I have one more question for you, and then we can dive into some of the questions. I saw that one came through. So we talked about financial aid processes and some of the other things that automated attendance has helped you do. But we talked about 1 or 2 things outside of that area on our call last week about how automated attendance has helped ISSA. And one of those, Carrie, you mentioned that you're bringing on more students. And I was wondering if you could explain or go into a bit more detail about why having a process like this in place has given you the confidence to take on more students.
Oh, it streamlines the first day or orientation day. Huge. So I did orientation on Monday for 28 cosmetologists and barbers, and I do it via Zoom. So just like this, we're on a Zoom call. During that call, everybody is typing in their name for attendance and checking in. By the time I get probably 20 minutes into my 45-minute presentation, Margaret's team or Margaret has sent out the link to the students for
CourseKey for their first day.
And then by the time I get to the let's load our app slide, a lot of them go, oh my gosh, I already got an email. And so I say, great, now we're going to install the apps, and on your first day tomorrow, you're going to be set up and ready to use it. They come in with confidence. Some of them are a little confused, but that's why we wear red, is they all know who to go to and gravitate to on that day. Other than that, we look like this. But, we're a typical cosmetology school in that sense, but it gives us the advantage of the student not having so much anxiety, less pressure on our educators on knowing whose name is who. We already have that student in our system combined. So by the time they hit their very first attendance, I'm here, the system marries and we're good. And so, and we can at a glance, I love this part, is I can check my admissions numbers by going in and seeing who really showed. And so on the very first day when they're checking in, I'm like, okay, we're there. You guys had 1 no-show and this is who it is. I'm able to tell my admissions team, where before it would be, 2 to 3 days before we would really know real numbers.
Gotcha. Yeah, and that obviously will delay some of the processes that have to start once. Well, that's also a great thing to bring up. I don't think I mentioned for the attendance piece of CourseKey, it is accompanied by a web portal that the administrators and the instructors and other staff can see, that has the real-time attendance rate per course front and center. And then it also has towards the bottom has a list of students who are absent on that day. So really, like you're saying, at a glance, you can see who is there and who is not there that day. And it really just brings a lot of, I guess, it brings everyone into one central place where you can see that data that's needed, and all the departments who need that information can see it. Right?
Well, and one of the other things I want to say too, another little plug, is the tutorials. When you're new and you don't know what to do, or if you haven't done it in a while, there's some really good tutorials on there that you can just look through and look up. Some are videos, some are just step-by-step instructions, but those are really, really helpful too.
I'm so happy to hear that.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing. Okay, so we're just about at time. I saw that we had one question come in. Let's see. Okay, so this is a question for me. This is from an anonymous attendee. It says, does the system integrate with Genesis SMS? So I don't actually have that info off the top of my head. I know we integrate with many of the leading softwares out there. So if you don't want to be anonymous, if you let me know who you are, or if you want to email me, alex@CourseKey.com, I can get you that information really shortly after this webinar. Thank you for that question. That's a great question. And I think that's the extent of the questions that were submitted. So since we're at time, I just want to say then, Margaret and Carrie, thank you so much for spending 30 minutes with me today to talk about your experience with CourseKey. I'm so happy to hear about all the great things that are happening at ISSA, and wish you guys continued luck. And I'll make sure that Todd just continues his great work with you as well.
Yeah, and
Thank
peace
you.
and love from Colorado Springs.
Yep.
Come see us if you're ever in Southern Colorado. Anybody, come join. Come say hi. We'd love to meet
Yeah.
you in person. And
Yeah.
Margaret loves
Yeah.
a good question
Yeah.
on financial aid, so you might be able to really get a lot, of good
Who knows?
interaction.
Yeah.
So
Definitely. And thank you to our audience as well for spending part of your day with us. I hope this was valuable to you. If you want to get in touch with a CourseKey team member, there will be a survey that pops up once you leave this webinar. Or again, you can get in touch with me, alex@CourseKey.com, or just go to our website and you'll find everything you need right there. So I guess we'll wrap it up there. Thank you so much, you guys.
Thanks.
thank you.
Have a good
Have a great day.
You too. Thanks.
Bye-bye.